everybody, and welcome back to my channel. I'm just here to bring you all a quick video on the things that they don't tell you on the internet about Cuba. And this is really important because these are a lot of the things that when we went, we were like, oh my gosh, how did I go from having like hundreds of dollars to having like, or trying to figure out like how we're like going to manage our money for the next couple of days because we've spent too much money and we're only there for 4 days. So when we went to Cuba, we probably brought like $300 each for spending money. And when we when we first got out the airport and we exchanged our money, we're thinking that, well, this is 300 US dollars, so we're gonna get even more money in, pesos or whatever whatever money they use. No, we got less money. We got 87, or maybe it was between 85 and 87 cents to the dollar. And we were not expecting that. So I just did the math, and that, like, if we exchange our whole 300, which we didn't because we were so shocked at like the difference that we were like, no. So we exchanged 100, like you would get back like $86. So if you do 86 times 3, I think that's like 258. You know what I'm saying? So you've already lost like $42 when you haven't even like left the airport yet. You know what I'm saying? So that's like really important to know. A better way to go about doing that, well, it used to be to get European or Canadian money, but right now I would say the best is to get Canadian money because with Brexit, the European dollar has come down, which means now it's going to be closer to like what you would get from the US, which would be about 85 to 87 cents. So I would say like get Canadian money, and one of the easiest ways to do that is to go to your local banker. Like go to maybe your credit union. They say you can get it at a bank. I'm just gonna relay on the information. They say you go to your bank and say like you want euros, or you want Canadian money. They should have that. They should be able to order that for you. So check that out before you go, because I think the Canadian money was like 1.6 or something, and that's not really something that they advertising on the internet, that you losing money when you go to Cuba. So that really had me all types of messed up. I was not prepared for that. So, and then the other thing to notice is that there are two types of money in Cuba. One are kooks, which is usually used for like travel and things like that, that's what you would want to get. It's worth more than the peso. The pesos are what like the everyday people use, and they're really not worth anything. So you'd have to get a lot of it for it to even be worth anything. So I would definitely say go ahead and get the kooks, because I don't really understand what the kook, like how much the kook is, but I know that like I could give one kook to a taxi driver and say like, can you take me from here to here, which is like a pretty good distance. Which gets me to my next thing, because you can't really look up like the bus schedules and things like that in Cuba. You're going to have to pay the $30 to get from where the airport is to wherever you're staying in the city. So just be aware that like that's $60 off top. So now what you down to like 198 or something like that. It's $60 from the 258 that I think I had left. So granted, if you're going with somebody, you all might pay 30 there, and then they may pay the 30 back. But just be cautious that like that $60 already out of your pocket. Versus like in Europe, you can look up the metro. You don't really have to look up like the train schedule out there. Like you can just get there. The next one's coming in like 15 minutes, But out here, you're not gonna know, and you're not even gonna really know where you're going. So you're not even gonna want to hop on the bus like the first day probably. So yeah, that's more money you gotta account for. So, and the taxi drivers, they're going to charge you to go everywhere. Like, when I would talk to the local people, they were saying how, like, certain things, you should pay, like, $7 to get there. But the taxi drivers were charging us, like, 15. And then some taxi drivers saw that we were Americans, so they were trying to, like, jip us more. So they would take us to, like, hey, you want to go here? And then we would go there. And then when we were ready to go, they were like, oh, but you got to pay us more money to go back. And it was like, wait, but we already paid you. You said you just wanted to take us there. Like, just, like, stuff like that. Like, we got swindled so badly in our first 2 days there, that the second day I had to be like, okay, let's go to the table, put all the money on the table. You see what I'm saying? And this is how much we can spend this day, and this is how much money we can spend this day because we had lost so much money. Probably $86 on just like taxis from going places to see this or to see that. Like we were close to some things like the Museum of Revolution, but that's really all I can think of that we were like really close to. Now we did bust some missions when we were not trying to hop in a taxi because we was like, look, we got this money, but we could use this money for something else. So there would be times where we would just decide to walk. But if you're not about that life, and luckily the first day we were there, we met like some people who took us on the buses. And I mean, them buses are full too. It's not a game. Like them people are like almost hanging out of them buses. Like we got on 3 buses and all of them were full. Like we were going to the beach because you know Habana, it's not like, even though it shows an ocean, like that's a fort, you know, you don't go swimming in it. Now that is a good place that people meet up all throughout the night from like maybe like 11 or 12 to like 6 in the morning. Like people are out there, but it's not actually like a place you could swim. So when we wanted to go swimming, we had to take 3 buses, and thank goodness that we went with them, because if we had tried to go to the beach by ourselves, it probably would have cost like somewhere between $50 and $100. But yeah, just be aware that like the taxis are gonna cost you like a pretty penny unless you down for the mission. Okay, so the other thing is there are no ATMs out there. You see what I'm saying? That we can use. There are no ATMs that I can put my ATM card in and take out money, which means you have to take all of your money when you go, like emergency money and money to spend. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not a joke. Like, you can't get money. Like, there's no Western Union. There's no nothing. Like, you have to take all of your money with you. Emergency fund, you know, because there's no Wi-Fi in Cuba. You see what I'm saying? It's like, and it's hard for people to understand sometimes when I say, like, yeah, they have internet, but, like, they don't really have, like, internet. Like, they have Wi-Fi, but I guess they really don't have Wi-Fi. I don't know what it would be classified under them, but, like, it's not as if you can just hop on Facebook, hop on Instagram, hop on Snapchat. No, you're not going to be able to get on any of those. And there's really not Wi-Fi anywhere that you go, except when there are like Wi-Fi plazas that like the actual people use. The majority of the people in Cuba use these Wi-Fi plazas, and you can go and buy like a card and get Wi-Fi, but it's not going to connect to your phone. You see what I'm saying? Because you have an American phone, and it's just you're not going to be able to use the Wi-Fi. Maybe if you had a phone from another country, you could. But if you're from America, like even when it was an emergency and I had called Sprint before I left and told them that I was going to need to use I might need to use my phone. And they told me, okay, it's going to be like $1.45, as if they really could connect from Cuba, like back to the US. And when I actually went to use it, I could even call home and it was an emergency. So that's how serious it is about you not having like connection to the rest of the world. Like even when they get on the internet, it's not the same internet that we're getting on. They're not hopping on Facebook, you know what I'm saying? They probably don't have Google. Like, it's a struggle. There is no Wi-Fi. So you really need to make sure that like you screenshot like everything that you need for like all your flights, all your like things that show you like where you're gonna be staying, like anything that you're gonna need while you're in Cuba that's in your email or in your text. Like you can't send text messages. You can't be like, oh yeah, babe, what's this? Like, can you look in this like in this email and see? No, like you can't send messages. You can't get Wi-Fi. You can't call. So you need to screenshot everything, because that's how we ended up missing our flight. Couldn't load the message. Like I had opened the email so I could see the email, but I couldn't see the loaded message. So you imagine you're sitting there like, dang, like I have all the information I need right here, but I can't open it because I don't have Wi-Fi. Crazy. And nobody can turn on their Wi-Fi for you or their hotspot. Like nobody can let you use their phone. Like it's really not that bad when you're out there, because Cuba's really cool and stuff, but it's just more of a reason why you need to bring emergency money. And it's also a reason why you need to, you definitely need to bring emergency money. I would say 200 at the minimum. That's not money that you're spending while you're there. That's money that's like, if you get back on the plane and never touch that money, it's like, cool. You know what I'm saying? But if you have to spend it, you're not going to be like, dang, I really don't have it. And me personally, just because I already been through this, I would probably take 300 just as much extra emergency money as you can. It's really fun, you know what I'm saying? Like, you'll have a good time in Cuba, but you also have to understand that, like, Cubans really do have this perception that, like, all Americans are rich, so they're not gonna think anything of, like, swindling you. You know, like, the first day I was all upset, like, these are my people, like, why they doing this to me? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying to survive out here too, you know, but it's a whole different type of survival. You got to check it up to the game that, you know what I'm saying? Like, you do come from America, and there are people in Cuba who are, like, barely surviving. So just keep that in mind. Like, you are going to get swindled. You're going to get swindled. It's real. So, yeah.